Hi, and welcome to another video. And today I want to talk about the narrative that's going out there. That narrative is have children because that's what will make you happy. So I want to critique some of the things that are being said by certain very prominent voices, saying things like boys are afraid of women, women are becoming too educated, feminism has lied to women, saying things like what will fulfill a woman is if she gets married and has a family. I'm going to come from a personal development angle because that's what my channel is about, but I'm also going to come from it from a very spiritual and practical aspect of life. So I was watching the Diary of a CEO, and they had three women that were debating feminism and what's happening to boys. And this one particular woman, there's just something about that woman. I don't know what it is, but you know when you just watch someone. But anyway, let's not dwell on that. I think the woman's called Erica Komisar. And she said things like she's got sons and her sons are in university, and they came to her and said that they're afraid of women. And what she stated was the fact that women are now more educated than men, they fill up more universities. And she talked about they know that women will not marry men who are beneath them. They marry men who are either their equal or who've achieved more than they have. And she thinks that women, by becoming more educated, going into the corporate world, it's making them less attuned to things like wanting to become mothers, wanting to become wives. And because of that, the birth rate in America is dropping. She blames it all on feminism. She says that there was a sexual revolution. And then I watched another debate which had Candace Owens, and she debated some feminists. And the classic Candace Owens things where she thinks that her point is correct. And I will say, Candace Owens, I tried to like her. Don't know what it is, but when you get a vibe from people, that's what I'm going to say. I don't get a good vibe. And because of that, I'm like, okay, fair enough. I do listen to some of the things that she says. I do agree with some of the things that she says. For example, I'm one of those people, I don't believe in the whole, because I'm a sexually liberated woman, so I can just give up the goods or whatever is what they call it, or just sleep around. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that because I believe that heterosexual sex and heterosexual men, the way they view women is so different, to the point that there is a way that when you are sexually liberated that they treat you. And that's why I don't believe in the whole sexual liberation movement. And I'll say my truthful points. I believe that sexual liberation is rooted in white privilege. Somebody could be asking me, what does that mean? There is a way that I see white people enjoy certain extremes or push themselves to certain liberties in life that a lot of non-white people or people of color will not do. Because with white people, they were always free to do what they wanted. Who is there to say you can't do that? So I see them push the bar of what is the norm in things, even the activities that they like, the thrill seeking, the adrenaline rush that they go to. And I do admit that they probably don't operate from fear so much. But I really believe that there's an element of they've always had the allowance to be who they want to be and do what they want to do, that somehow nothing is untouchable or impossible that they shouldn't do. And hence the sexual revolution. Because that, coming from a culture that I come from, sexual revolution, what? Are you crazy? We don't do things like that, you know? Yeah, even when I think of, like, in England, there's a newspaper that used to have a model who would show her breasts, topless, page 3 model. And some of them, they get older and then they've changed and they're like married, they got kids, and people just be like, well, that was just me in my young ways. I was just wild and just exploring, and that's okay. Whereas in my culture, you go and hide for the rest of your life. You don't want to be seen because people will remind you and shame you for it. Not that I agree with people shaming someone who's changed and transformed, but it's just not the done thing in African culture.
Shame. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, it's the kind of shame that makes a girl who gets pregnant out of wedlock. But if shame is everything, who's going to remember that this is your daughter, this is your son, you had them
Exactly.
out of wedlock? Who's going to remember?
We don't have the mindset of forgive and forget, we take joy in using somebody's life as a cruise, cruising with somebody's life, making fun of somebody. They're going to be mocked. They're going to be shamed. They will drag you. They know they forget anything. Nigerians will drag you from kingdom come.
It's just not the done thing to show your bodies. And I'm not saying that we don't have people who do that. We do. They're different breeds. There's always an exception to the rule. They're a different breed, but that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so let's start with Candace Owens, because I can critique that one. She says that having children is what will make you happy. And I've got a video on happiness. I think that is selling people a lie. There's so many people who have children and it doesn't turn out to be as happy as they want to be. Not everybody has the luck that Candace Owens has. Imagine meeting a man, getting engaged in 18 days, I think 17 or 18 days, getting married in 9 months, and he is worth 180 million. Hello? That's not a lot of people's life stories. And then you get pregnant back to back, just like that. That's not everybody's narrative. That's not people's life stories. And for you to use your life as an example, because now you have got a podcast that attracts millions, you've got a husband who is worth 180 million, you've written books, you've got nannies, to now say, look, do life the way I do. Is everybody else privileged or able to access your wealth, Candice? No. So let's not spread that narrative, because people should not have children to be happy. Because again, that is outsourcing your happiness with something external to you. I am a mother myself, and I love my child and I love being a parent. And yes, the love of my daughter brought me into a different happiness that I've ever experienced. There's a joy that I feel from it. And it's an unconditional kind of love that I experience that I've never experienced with another human being. So there is power to that. However, I am never going to take my life situation as the solution for every woman out there and say to them, because you haven't got a child or you don't have a child, you're not going to be happy. That's not true. Candace Owens converted to Catholicism. Let's take Mother Teresa, for example. She devoted her life to being a nun, and she devoted her life to saving all the children on the streets of Calcutta who were unwanted. What makes you think that she wasn't happy? She didn't give birth to those children, but she devoted her life to that. She made it her life's cause. So the same way I believe that whatever you desire, I believe it comes from God. I believe it comes from above you. Some people will not desire children truly. That's not what they want. And I have a video on happiness where I talk about not outsourcing our happiness to external things, because what that does, it sets you up for failure. You then get that thing and you think, I'm supposed to feel a certain way. I'm supposed to feel a certain type of happiness. And when you don't feel it, you're like, people sold this to me, but it doesn't feel the way it should. Again, having children is a challenging experience. One of the toughest things that I experience, as much as I love it, is parenting, is childcare, is all the things that come with being a parent. And if people are not wholesome, if people are not ready, if that's not what people want, you are setting them up for failure. Stop selling people a lie and saying, because your life has gone the way you want it to go, that's how their life should go. No, I just don't agree with that. Because I don't believe we should outsource our happiness to anything external. We should want children because we want them. We should have children because we want them. I am a nurse myself, an RN, and I've worked with young babies right up to elderly people. And let me tell you, I hear stories. The greatest stories are the people who did things that they wanted to do. I've got elderly people who never had children, but they're very happy. They had wholesome lives. So it's not true to say that people who don't have children are not going to be happy. I have elderly people who have children and it didn't turn out to be so happy because their life was just challenging, or they experienced so many tragedies, even though the children were there. So we should stop selling that lie, which is why I have another video where I talked about achieving a state of happiness and saying you need to find out where your level of happiness is, because there is a state of happiness that every person can achieve. And God put us in families. God gave us friendships. So our connections make us happy. It's not just children. That's not true. Let me tell you, I have a child. Sometimes I'm not feeling so happy. I'm around my child. And I could look at my child and go, oh my goodness, now I'm so happy. No, that's not true. I actually have to physically take myself out and be doing something that's going to make me happy. Because as I said in that video, sometimes it's me being out in nature. Sometimes it's just alone time that I need. That's going to make me happy, right? Human beings carry energy. We're energetic beings. And sometimes whatever is going on in our energetic blueprint will determine whether we are happy or we're not happy. So people, please have children because you want to, not because it's the formula for happiness. Because if it was the formula for happiness, then guess what? Everyone will get pregnant. Everyone will have children. Everybody would be happy. Why did God give people free will? Because he knows that people will choose the life that they want, not the life that people tell them that they should have, not the life that's prescribed for them. So again, I'm not really one who says, okay, I'm sitting here and agreeing with the feminists or whatever, because even when it comes to feminism, I don't think that the feminism that these people are arguing about includes Black people. It doesn't. It was a white, female, privileged feminism, whatever it was. It was a feminism that only considered white women. It didn't consider women of color.
The Black women's movement would develop the term womanism, which is an alternative to feminism. Alice Walker, who you might remember as the author of The Color Purple, coined this term in 1980. She wrote, "Many Black women view feminism as a movement dedicated to attacking or eliminating men. Womanism supplies a way for Black women to address gender oppression without attacking Black men." The fact is that there remains a schism within feminism.
She created womanism to center Black women in a feminist movement that largely benefited middle-class white women. While Black women also benefited from the feminist movement, their contributions weren't acknowledged, and thus womanism was created. Because white women are often seen as the standard victims of sexism, feminism tends to be very white, and rarely considers how Black women specifically deal with being Black and female.
For me, I think one of the most important things I've learned is that white Western women have historically imposed their own lenses, assuming that sexism is the most acute pain point for all women, when often it's not. Let's make sure we are listening and that we never ever speak for another group of women.
And if you think about it, even now going on to Erica Komisar, when I was watching The Diary of a CEO, there was a woman who challenged her on feminism and talked about if feminism has made women free, this narrative will be true in the whole world. And she brought up like women in Iran. I think she brought up women in Afghanistan. And Erica just dismissed it like, oh yeah, of course, I don't mean that should happen to women in Iran. Yes, because she doesn't care. Right? It's nothing to do with her.
I'm an African feminist. That's how I describe myself. And what does that mean? It means that I look at the issues that affect African women. So whether it's female genital mutilation, whether it's widowhood rights, whether it's poverty, I look at those things from my own lens as an African woman living on the African continent and addressing those issues.
And then secondly, another point was she talked about some of her views on people who are poor, and everything that she was talking about seemed to relate to a certain demographic. They are white, they're privileged, and they have money. Which brought the point when I read an article in The Guardian that they were like, the Diary of a CEO is misleading people because of the advice it was given. I like Stephen Bartlett. But then when I saw Erica, and I was like, the way she is so forthright in the things that she says, the things that she says she's researched, that, me being a nurse who's read a lot of peer-reviewed research, not every research paper or research article is applicable to the general population. Neither is it applicable to all populations. And that is something that I was like, some of these things that she's saying. So for example, I'm a migrant in the UK. When you come as a migrant, you have to work. So a migrant family is not supposed to have children. So if they've got children and they haven't got family support, are they not supposed to put their children in daycare? We call it nursery here in England. Are they not supposed to do that? Hello? So people shouldn't have families. And economically, people shouldn't want a better life for themselves. Is that what she's trying to say? Because daycare is bad? And I kept thinking there's something about this research that is not replicable in certain countries or to the general population. And also on the point that her boys are scared of girls. That's on you. That's on her as a mother. She should actually be teaching them how to be in a world with girls. On another point, I had to sit there and get in her shoes and think, okay, if she's only got sons and now she's worried that her sons might not get married, because I don't know how they are academically, whether they performed well. I know that she's a psychoanalyst or whatever she calls herself. Anyway, the thing is, so she could be worried that now my boys will not be able to meet women, which means, oh, they won't get married, which means, oh, I won't become a grandmother. And then she raised the point that women are nurturers and they should look after children, they should look after the elderly. Oh, really? I love what she's saying. However, and she blames that on feminism. And I'm like, how is that feminism when we live in a world that people have to survive? People have to have jobs to survive. Every human's desire, especially now in the current world that we live in, we've evolved so much that everybody wants a better life for themselves. So, because other people want a better life for themselves, it's not okay for women to want a better life for themselves, because they should always be the caretakers. They should always be the nurturers. They should look after the elderly people and look after the kids, while the men have the right to go and work, because men shouldn't look after children because they produce oxytocin. Hello? I had to question that. And you know something? I might not be as scientific as that because I am a nurse. I work with families, I see families, and there's something that I see to me that I admire in people. And I see that as human resilience. There's resilience to thrive, which comes from our ability to be adaptable to situations. As I'm speaking to you now on YouTube, I have got female elderly clients that I know that have lived for years and survived and need personal care. As much as they get personal care from external care providers, but guess what? Some of it is provided by their sons. And when you ask the sons, why did you not put them in a nursing home? You know what they said? Mum's wishes were never to be cared for by strangers. She did her part in looking after me. Now it's her turn. She looked after dad, or she looked after someone's, and now it's my turn. Oh, how do you manage it being a man? When the need arises, you'll be surprised at how much you rise up to fulfill what needs to be done. And that is something, it really made me open my mind. And I was like, I really admire this. This is amazing. And this is humanity at its best. And I think Stephen Bartlett had another lady recently who actually said she would debate Erica Komisar on some of the things that she said.
I spoke to Erica Komisar, and she's very passionate about the detrimental impact of daycare.
Right.
Because she feels that the mother's plays a critical role in those first 2 years, and then the father plays a critical role beyond, from about 2 years onwards, when the kid starts to get into that play phase.
I would argue with her on that point, but okay.
Which point would you argue on? The second point?
Yeah, that is critical from the moment that child is born.
Okay.
And I get quite upset.
And I thought, yeah, thank goodness, because she made those things as fact because of the population that she did her research on, or the people that come into her office and what they say to her. It's just saying things that don't apply to the general population. So those are some of the things that I just wanted to highlight. And also the fact that I don't believe that feminism, as they claim to be, has gone far. Because if it had, the rest of the world, like in countries like Afghanistan, where things have actually gone backward, I don't believe those women would have gone backward. Or things like female genital mutilation will still be happening. Or the rampant femicide that's happening in Africa. Or the rape of women on trains or in India would be happening if feminism had gone as far as people like Erica Komisar and Candace Owens claim it has. I actually blame the freedom that they have in America as the issue. And I also blame capitalism, because there's this whole thing about the American dream. Everybody will be successful. We are the best, for liberty and justice for all and make America great. That to me is what the problem is, because then people probably think they're so invincible. They want to attain lives without sacrifice. To me, that's what I think the problem is. And even when Erica Komisar talked about children, let's bring this point in. White women, there was a time when their children were looked after by the help, who was always a slave.
I've drafted the Home Health Sanitation Initiative. The what? A bill that requires every white home to have a separate bathroom for the help. Maybe we should just build you a bathroom outside, Haley. These women raise white children. We love them and they love us, but they can't even use the toilets in our houses.
But let me tell you, shit hit the fan when they no longer have helpers and they have to do it themselves and realize that this thing is hard. How about that reality check? So before we blame feminism, I would go to certain root causes of what was our society like even before this. Where is it going now? And why are these things happening? That's what I would look at instead of blaming feminism, because feminism still has a long way to go. Believe me, it has not even penetrated a lot of places in the world where women are really oppressed. Maybe you need to change whatever it is you want to call it in America. Maybe you need to call it too much liberty that you had living in an American dream that made you become materialistic, very individualistic, and less on things that matter, like love for each other, family. I don't know. I just attribute it to white freedoms, because even when sexual liberty started, it didn't start in the Black community, even though we see it now, and there is a wave of that I critique. And that's where I agree with Candace Owens, because it's not something that's akin to us in Africa. Anyway, I'm not going to stay long on this video. It's just some thoughts that I had. It's a bit mishmash because I didn't really think about it or script it as I usually try and have a little script or points. But I would love your views. If you're new to my channel, I'm Fatima, and my channel is Undefined Life, where I talk and focus on personal development and personal growth. I also talk about the universal laws, such as the law of attraction, and how it helped me to thrive and to start really living the life that I want, and how it can help you. And I also talk about spirituality, because that's something that has really impacted my life. And if you like this type of content, I invite you to like and subscribe so that we become YouTube friends. And thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.